Well, hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Sunnyview Schools podcast made by students for students. I'm Albert Chavarría, your host for today, and as usual with me are a bunch of incredible people. Those incredible people are, as usual, Mr. McKean.
Hello, I'm Mr. McKean. I'm here again. They can't seem to get rid of me, it seems. And I'm here with two lovely students.
Hi, I'm Sofia. This is my third time now, so
you're a pro.
Becoming a regular.
Right, yeah. Exactly. Becoming a season regular.
Hi, I'm Elsa. I'm usually in the audience. I come and watch them. And I did one at the start. I think it was a teacher-student one.
You did.
But yeah, this is my second one. And I'm here as someone who doesn't know too much about the topic, but I'm here to inform myself and ask questions and hopefully learn from the experience.
Right. So talking of which, what is our topic for today, guys?
AI and how it can be used in schools.
Right. AI and how it can be used in schools.
Is it positive or negative?
Or should it be used in schools?
Should it be used in schools? Right, absolutely. It's scary, no? I find it scary. I feel that AI is moving faster than I can move. And that, very much scares me. But just because something scares you, you should not, ignore it because of that fact. So maybe we should start with, what is your current experience of AI? How have you used it in school or in general? Just so then we can kind of get the groundwork. So, Sophia, what about you?
So the most popular or well-known AI tool is ChatGPT.
Right.
I've used that you can use it as sort of like a secondary Google if you're looking for something more specific rather than a list of articles if you're looking for something specific. Or I use it also to give me feedback on my essays because for my history essays I can tell it to, according to the mark scheme for the history exam for International Edexcel, give me some feedback on this essay, and then I paste in the essay and it can give me some feedback, and obviously it's not completely accurate, but it does give me a good idea of where I can improve.
Wow, I hadn't realised that ChatGPT had that potential to, for marking in that sense. I could understand it marking questions that were right or wrong, but in the more arts and humanities subjects, I thought that due to the subjective nature it wouldn't really work. I might have to try that, but then I'd also be worried too. That's food for thought there. Scary, but that's definitely food for thought. Elsa, what about you? What's your experience of AI?
That's interesting what you said, because that's the thing. I know that the main kind of AI tool, like you said, is ChatGPT, and I've never used ChatGPT, so I don't know. I need to go in there and see how it works. But so far I haven't used it, and I don't know if there's something else I might not be thinking of that I might have used. What are other common?
Sometimes people use AI art generators. Right. That's just for fun normally, or
yeah. No, I don't think I've used anything. So
that's.
I think before we continue, we got to differentiate a little bit.
All right. Okay.
When we talk about AI has been around for years, if not decades, and Google's been developing AI for years and years. What's new and what we're really talking about when we talk about ChatGPT, we're talking about LLMs, which are large language models, and the beauty of them and the impressive thing is that they can understand you. You feed them information, they read it, they understand it, and they give you an answer according to what you asked. That's never happened before, and that's what we're talking about when we talk about AI today. AI, whatever. We're really talking about what Sofia was saying: ChatGPT, Microsoft's equivalent, Copilot, and everything that revolves around them. It's also something for you to know, Sofia. If you're using the free version of ChatGPT, you got to make sure that you know that the answers are only up to 2021. That's when it was for it. So if you're asking it to mark an exam using the latest marking scheme that they have in Edexcel or whatever, or any examining board, it won't know it because
that's why I think
it's just post-COVID.
Yeah, so that's why I think that you shouldn't rely on it, but to be able to use this to your advantage is really good. If I only relied on that, then I think I wouldn't get the best results. But if I use that as well as other resources, then that's where you can use the best.
So this idea almost of self-regulation then, being this is a tool, but it's not the only thing I have to my advantage that I can use. Albert, how have you found this kind of change within your job? Because you deal with all the tech in the school.
I love it. I use it maybe anywhere between 20-30 times a day.
Really? Like, for what kind? Like, okay, can you give us some examples? Because my mind is blown.
As you might have noticed, our faithful listeners, speech and language isn't my biggest strong point. So anything I write, any email I write, I feed it back and say, can you improve this for me?
Right.
And then it'll give me, I normally never change anything, but there's always maybe a couple of words that I hadn't thought of. So that's more succinct. I do that practically every single email I write, if it's an important email. I do it, like you say, for our systems administrator. I ask it to write scripts all the time if I want to block some student from chatting or whatever, and I can't remember the script. I just say, can you write it for me? And I'll substitute the tenant's name for whatever he gives me. Or even I can say, Sunnyview School is our tenant. Please write the script, and it'll do it for me. I feed it into the machine, and there it goes. Anything else, like Sofia said, you can feed it a text and say, is this good enough? Can you revise this for me? And mostly I use it, like Sofia says as well, as a glorified version of Google. And this is something I'm not sure why Google never thought about this before, because this is part of AI. It's not really so much generative AI. It's basically saying, give me the best restaurants in Malaga. And what it will do, it will summarize all the web searches for you. So it saves you having to look at the search results and going through every single search to see if that's the website you want to visit. It just summarizes it for you. Right. And then what you do have to do is make sure that it's giving you the right information. That's the so I use it all the time. For me, I'm so used to it. I use, like you say, the generative AI for Photoshop for our media department. We use it all the time as well. Our Sunnyview School, our Sunnyview's logo is made with AI.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Wow.
I just fit in. I said what I wanted. The image of two students podcasting with a sea and the sun in the background. That's what came up.
breaking news story there. Did not know that.
Did not. Yeah.
Wow. But do you find that obviously you use it for emails, and I don't know in your case, Sofia, as well, that the human kind of element is taken out of there? Do you? You
can tell it to make it more human, less more casual, less casual.
That scares me.
Yeah. In the style of, you can say.
In the style of, wow. Mm-hmm. Okay, wow, that really does.
It's very hard to tell.
Right.
But it does take away your humanity from it, right? If I say, something I never do is write an email for me.
Right.
Doing blah blah blah, because it suddenly won't be my email. Whoever reads it will think like, "Oh, this is kind of weird." What we do is, I said doo-doo. How's that? All our YouTube descriptions for social media, we feed into ChatGPT. And I'm sorry, Mr. McKean, I know that you're a great copywriter and you absolutely love it, but neither Jess or I are good at that, and it saves so much time. Rather than sending it to somebody else, please write a description for this YouTube video. Wow. We already know how to feed it because it serves a very, very specific purpose. I mean, practically nobody's going to read the description of the video except for the search engines. Right. So they're specifically made for search engine optimization. Okay. It's not for somebody to read and say, "Oh, this is a very nice description." It's so that Google reads it and says, "Oh, I'm going to push these to the people."
That makes me feel slightly
better. And it's
better.
perfect for that. We'd say, and give us 20 hashtags at the end of the description.
Right.
We don't have to think of a hashtag that might be relevant or anything like that. And we review it afterwards, tweak it, but it even gives you a little emojis that are coming with a description.
Wow.
Which I would have never thought of doing, but there you go, it does it for me.
Okay, wow.
But that's the thing, you use it in very practical ways.
Yeah.
And that seems to make sense, but I always get scared when I hear that students are using them to actually write their essays. So you said that you use them to mark them, which is really cool. I need to try that too. And that seems very constructive, but if people are just using them to write their essays, which, sir, I know you said before that you have some students who've done that and you've caught them doing that, that's what kind of scares me.
Yeah. So that brings us to the real subject of this podcast, which is, are we going to use it in schools? Should we use it in schools? And I mean, I have very particular views, but I'd like to hear yours first.
I don't know. I think just because I'm not, or because I find it something quite scary and something quite worrying, that doesn't mean I should, avoid it at all cost. I think it does have a place. I think it's a very similar argument in some respects to mobile phones in schools, or kind of the use of technology within the classroom. This is just another string to the bow. I think obviously it's more important to show and to teach, I think probably where the role of education comes in, the correct use of it. Because I've already had essays, I've already had things being handed in that I use ChatGPT, and
But you can tell, right?
Yeah, I can tell, but from what you're saying, surely the aim is to get to a point where we can't tell, and that's what scares me.
Right, that's where my point of view comes in, but I'd rather hear yours before
I know there are some other some other AI platforms that are specifically for educators. Like there's one that creates multiple choice quizzes into kind of things like Kahoot or into BlueKit and things like that, which I have used. I have used it as well to help with my planning. I've put in, for example, I need to teach all of this within a 12-week period, help me organise this, and it made like a 12-week plan of how to teach To Kill a Mockingbird at GCSE level, which I used it as kind of an organisational tool, but like not the whole thing itself. So yeah, it does have a place. I don't know, what about you two? What do you think?
I think if you're using it to say, write me an essay about To Kill a Mockingbird, and then you're just sending that in as homework, you're not learning anything from that, you're not getting anything from that, and you're not going to be able to do that in your exam. So I think that is just not the right way to be using it. But if you use it, for example, as a thesaurus is sometimes what I use it. So, for example, you can say, write the phrase, it's not very good, in a more sophisticated way, and then it can give me some more examples, and if you don't like the one it gives you can say, give me 5 more. You can use it in more specific ways to improve your work rather than to just completely take over for you.
Yeah, and I think those kind of things are to be encouraged. If it helps support, if it's used as a supporting tool, then great. I think me now as a teacher, and I think teachers in general, need to not necessarily shy away from it. I think we have to still keep learning. I think people forget that when we become teachers, there's still that idea that we still have to learn what's going on. Education's not static. It doesn't kind of stay the same. And using AI within the classroom, I think, is going to be one of the big trends over the next 5 years or so. And just teaching students how to use it correctly and giving them that literacy of, this is how it can be used, this is how you should use it, this is how we know that you're not using it properly. So I'm not sure. I think probably.
I was going to say it too. I think that something that's really important is teaching how to use it correctly in the classroom, so that they can use it correctly at home and to do their schoolwork.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, even at the moment, it's still not. There are still like errors with it. I was telling you guys before the podcast, in my French class, I put in something to show how it doesn't work, and it said the main character of the book I'm teaching, her lover was her brother, and that's clearly not. Right, and they could, if they used that, would have some very drastic results if they wrote that in their essay. So, there's still that area there. What other aspects do you think you guys could use it in within your studies?
For our studies, I don't know, because I was thinking for English Lit and drama, they're more kind of humanities, artsy subjects. For English Lit, I guess what you said, marking, correcting essays, or if you're doing research, I suppose it could be really useful if you're saying that it's a way to find more specific things that you're looking for.
Right.
So that could potentially be
as well.
Yeah, essay plans. Yeah, that could be interesting actually. Yeah, because if an essay plan is essentially like an outline of what you're going to say, so it's just kind of ideas, and then you expand on them yourself. So that could work. But yeah, that's the thing. Certain things I don't think you really could use it for, or I should. I mean, for drama, for example, if I'm devising a piece, yes, sure, for research, perhaps, but for the actual creative process, where it's supposed to be something done by a human, I think that art, to some extent, could lose its meaning if it's all done by AI. I know that it can be done, it can look incredible, but I think that it doesn't have the same meaning if it's not created by a human.
I agree with you. And I think it's the same as well, like the idea of, I think we were having a similar conversation about 10, 15 years ago with translation apps, having taught foreign languages before, I'd always say to the students, please don't, rely on these because they're still being worked on. I'd always give the example of when you translate paper jam, it would come back into Spanish as papel de mermelada, which, is kind of marmalade paper doesn't really make sense. It's not what its translation.
Well, why don't you translate smoked salmon on toast for me? El salmón fumado en el brindis.
En el brindis. Right, exactly. So then there's those kind of tools. They're good, I think, for a purpose, but they're still kind of not there, I think. But I wanted to segue for a second and ask somebody else in the room who loves participating, and we are going now to Erica, who is part of our tech team. Erica, how has AI helped you or influenced you or changed the way that you work? What would you like to say on the subject?
I think I have to kind of agree with Elsa. I haven't actually used it that much and I don't really know a lot about it. I think I should probably use it more, and my dad, I'm going to throw him under the bus because he always encourages me. He tells me you have to start using it. It's a great tool because it is like, it can be ways you can like cheat in school, I guess, but there's always been ways for students to like not, if they don't really care, they can copy like all the work, and I mean you can always do that, but it is a tool to help you learn, and I think I have done that like a lot. Even like yesterday when I was planning for the drama essay, I was using ChatGPT to just improve some paragraphs or for research, and I'm not very sure how that will like play a part in my future, because I think I agree with my dad and I have to start using it because it's something that will improve in the future and it will be more useful for everyone. So this when you start using it, you will learn faster at ways that you can use in your life in every day. So that's it.
Yeah. And you want to be a filmmaker, right? You want to study film studies?
Yes.
Do you know that they just released Sora, which is a ChatGPT people, OpenAI just released a thing called Sora, which is basically generative AI for video. So you just write in a prompt and it'll create right now it's only a minute video, but it'll create a video for you.
Yeah, I've seen people use AI to create new episodes of like a series that they're not filming anymore, but I thought, oh, that's a bit crazy.
That's crazy, but I think that it's never going to be the same. And I know that it's scary because it's unknown, but I also don't think that it will be as bad as some people expect. Because if you think of live music, for example, for years now, we've been able to listen to music without it being live, but there's always people they always crave live music. We still go to watch shows, we watch concerts because it's the people that we want to watch play. It's different. It's just different. So I don't think...
happened with samplers back in the day in music. When back in the 80s, samplers came out, which basically a sampler, what it does is gets any sound and turns it into music.
Right.
People thought that was the end of real instruments.
Right, okay.
And,
you know... Same with ebooks, I suppose, too. People thought when e-readers came out. That I hadn't thought about it like that, and that gives me some hope, because I'm kind of very much like, oh my god, where are we going?
But that's the thing, we always crave that human connection. We are humans at the end of the day, so we think about this future of like robots, but I don't think as a whole, we don't actually want to go to that extent. So yeah, I think it's very useful as a tool, and I think we'll keep developing it like that, but I think that there's always hope in that sense that we won't go too far, at least I hope. I
think one of the biggest problems that I haven't heard anybody mention now is that we're going to have in as far as AI in schools is concerned is what's happened with phones. We had our first podcast was about, are you allowed phones in school? The reason why they're not is because the people that are in charge of allowing or not those phones or those tools in school don't know what they can offer or what they can do. For years and years, again, smartphones came out and they said, you can't take photos in school, just put them away. And then suddenly they've evolved to be an actual tool that you can use. And the policymakers, people in school administrators say, well, what can you? You can use them for so much, we're not even going to get close to try to legislate all that. So let's just not allow them. It's easy enough to do. However, smartphones have been out for 20 years or so, and we still haven't come up to a solution. Right now, we have an incredible advantage with AI, which is that it's practically come out this year. If we grow with it, then we'll be able to use it as a tool from the very beginning. However, if we're scared of it and we say it's too scary, we're not going to allow it, something's going to happen. 20 years down the line, the whole world will be using AI. And education will still be scared of it, and we'll still not allowing AI in schools because we just don't know how to legislate it. And I think that's a huge mistake. We're going to make it. It's not like thankfully we're catching it on time. It's not going to happen. 20 years down the line, your children, will be wondering why they can't use AI in schools, and somebody will have this podcast about AI.
Again.
It's not going to happen, but it's a pity because it's a great tool if you use it properly, right? So the idea isn't whether you can use it to do your homework or not, but how you can use it, like you said before, how it can help you to learn to do your homework properly, and whether even homework is even relevant anymore. Having these tools, and there's so many things they can use with it that you don't need to assign homework anymore, knowing that the student has it at their fingertips. Just change your system so that you can use these technologies without having homework at school. There's millions of ways you can do it. Right now, the important thing is learn how to prompt them. You can say, write an email for me to my dad, right? ChatGPT will do it. He'll just make something up, right? You have to say, please help me write an email to my dad that expresses my sentiments about this, and do it in this style, make it formal, and make it no more than 500 words. Mm-hmm. And that's where it will really, really help you out. And that's really hard to do for now. Sitting in front of ChatGPT saying like, okay, I'm going to ask it something. How do I ask it? So that it gives me the information I need in the best way possible.
Right.
And that's an art, and that's what we should be teaching right now. That's what we should be teaching in school, how to use that and how to do those prompts, how to ask the right questions so that you don't waste your time.
Mm-hmm. But the good thing about it is that you can always ask it to improve what it's done. So
exactly.
if it gives you a paragraph but you don't like it, it's not formal enough, for example, you can say, write it again but longer and more formal. And then it gives you another one, write it again but more casual tone, whatever you want. You can keep advancing your paragraph, you can keep making it better, or whatever you've done, you can keep improving it to make it perfect to how you like it. You don't have to do it in one prompt. But I also have to say that ChatGPT cannot do maths, because I've tried to use ChatGPT for maths because I think it would be a really good tool if it can help me go step by step through some more complicated questions where I don't understand the mark scheme, for example. But it just keeps making mistakes, and I kept having to correct the ChatGPT. I mean, the simple stuff it can do, but when it gets more complicated, I kept having to ask it to correct it because it was just completely wrong. So I kept asking it to correct it, and then eventually it got to the point where it was stuck on the same part as me, and then from that point I can't correct it anymore because I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
So you're just as good as a ChatGPT, basically.
Right.
Yeah, it says a lot. Yeah, it says a lot about you, not about ChatGPT.
It does.
You're just too intelligent.
Exactly, fantastic.
Good job.
Yeah. But then also I was telling it like, okay, the mark scheme says this is the answer, and it was like, no, check your mark scheme again. That's not the answer.
Wow.
So
I don't know. I think I agree with you that we need there. Obviously, we can't ignore it. But then I worry that with most things within education too, as a teacher, ChatGPT and AI and the LLM that you were talking about at the beginning are going to evolve much quicker than the education sector can react and has time to react with.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's also part of the problem. And I think too, it's having that awareness of it. But then I think not to kind of push the podcast into another direction, but I think there are other pressing issues too that need looking at the way that we do teach, or the subjects that we are, the range of subjects that we're offering, or even, for example, how mental health is treated in schools and that kind of provision there, which seems that we are having those issues too. So I mean, I would like to learn, and I'd like to learn, and I know that it's obviously outside of our scholastic bubble. There's going to be more and more ChatGPT, and I'd like to learn but I think it's going to evolve faster than before we can implement the changes, and I think I wouldn't know how to do that, and obviously that worries me too, that it's kind of what next?
Let's start answering the question. Copilot, which is Microsoft's version of ChatGPT, and it's actually the updated version of ChatGPT. I don't know if you know, but they invested a lot of billions of dollars with OpenAI to be able to develop it for Microsoft. It's been available for a while. It is available for schools, but it's not active in our tenant, in our school. I haven't activated it yet, except for a few of us. Next month, they're bringing it out for the Microsoft Suite, which means that you'll have ChatGPT available for Word, for Excel, for PowerPoint.
Wow.
My question to you is, what do I do? I'm the systems administrator in school. Well, that second bit I'm not going to do because it's incredibly expensive. But if it wasn't, and if parents would be willing to pay for it,
wow,
should I do it? Copilot I use every single day. I know that it's the one I always use. Copilot and Google's version, which is almost better, which is called Gemini. And they're fully updated. Whatever you ask of it, will know to the day, right? So they're fully updated, they're fully modern, and they work incredibly well.
Right.
I think honestly, like sixth form or even perhaps GCSE, I don't know GCSE, but GCSE A-level is when you're already you're expected to be in charge of your education. And at that point, you're studying because you need the grades for yourself to go to college. So at that point, I think it would be, I mean, it's also, people need to learn how to use it. So if you could kind of do that at the same time, then I mean I think that would.
But who's going to teach you?
Right, that's the thing. You need to.
Right, if you have people like
bring in people who know.
Mr. McKean is scared of it. You know the rudimentary ways of using it, but you don't really know.
No.
Are you in a position to sit in a literature class and tell your students how to use it so that they can enhance their learning rather than
exactly? It has to go hand in hand with that.
Right.
For kids younger than that, I'd say no, because if you give that to kids in primary and they grow up just using ChatGPT, or was it called Copilot? And
Copilot for Microsoft. Yeah.
They just start relying on that from the age of 10 or whatever it is, then they're not going to be in a good position when they get to this age.
Right.
I completely agree with that as well. If you give like a year 7, like a ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever, then they're going to become very dependent on that. And then when they come to GCSE or A-level and they can no longer use it in their exams, then they're going to struggle. That's why they first need to learn how to work without it and then introduce it as a tool to help them.
Right.
Good one.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I think with the introduction, it needs, I think, giving a date. I don't think saying, okay, next month, as in when it comes out, there needs to be some kind of, arrival to that point and kind of suggestions on, you could do this to learn, or like, I think it, the teachers can learn to incorporate that into their teaching. But I think kind of saying, okay, so by the end of 2024, this is what's going to be happening, because again it's inevitable, but I think allowing for some time for preparation would at least give a sense of security there, being like, right, okay, so I know this is coming, I can't avoid it, but at least I've got a little bit of time, to
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. We're at an advantage because we're a private school, private British school in Spain, which means that we're pretty much free to do anything we want in our in this kind of situation. Not everything, obviously.
Right.
But we can prepare our programs of study using ChatGPT as part of we can integrate it directly. We don't have to wait for some government to tell us, yes, you can do it. The question is whether we should or we will. And at that point, we kind of move as slow as anybody else because everybody's scared. I don't think we should, but I'm a techie, so I'm not scared. Right. I jumped right into it. So let me turn the question around. We're talking about ChatGPT or AI in schools. We've talked about how students can use it. We've briefly touched upon how Mr. McKean has used it for your teaching, but should a teacher rely on ChatGPT to prepare their classes? Is that especially with us private school, should we even allow it? Is that part of the price package that parents pay, or do they expect the teacher to sit there for hours and hours and hours just preparing their lessons on their own? Because we all know it's useful, but should teachers be using it to prepare their lessons? Should you be given AI-generated questions, and even more importantly, AI-corrected questions afterwards?
Well, yes and no, because I think if teachers can use AI, and then same way as students, they use it to kind of enhance what they're doing. So they make, for example, questions, and then they review these questions that the AI has given and decide whether these are appropriate and will help the students. And also, for example, we're making a lesson plan, and then you don't necessarily have to follow the AI lesson plan. You can add your own humanity into it and have your own perspective on the lesson. You don't have to be controlled by a robot, because then what's the point of teachers if it can all be done with AI?
Do you think you'd be able to tell, same as Mr. McKean can tell when a student submits a purely AI generated essay? Do you think you'd be able to distinguish AI generated piece of work from a teacher rather than or an assignment or something? You think
But what are we referring to? Like, he walks into class, let's say Mr. McKean's teaching an English lit class, and his whole PowerPoint was generated by AI, you're talking about?
Or he gives you an exam, and the whole exam, he hasn't even checked it. He just said, I need to do an exam, a 10-page or a 10-question exam, or in your case, if you're studying literature.
Yeah.
2 essay options to do with this book. And I need you to give me sample answers so I can have my own grading scheme or whatever.
I think in English lit, it wouldn't really be that big of an issue because that's kind of the least important part of it. What's important is our discussions, and I don't think AI would ever take over that. So I think we're safe.
Oh, we should try that one day. Have an AI discussion live.
Oh, gosh.
Wow.
Literature AI discussion live.
Yeah, I think I agree with Elsa on that fact too. And I mean, I think it's very tempting to use it too, because I think within teaching, it's kind of like an iceberg in the sense that you see some of the stuff that we do, but obviously like Albert said, the planning and everything else that goes into it, then yes, ChatGPT, Copilot, all of those kind of platforms can help. But at the end of the day, as a teacher, every class I have is different, right? And I think particularly being at a private school, but all teachers in general, their job within the classroom is to make sure that every student is getting the best from them. And I think that as far as ChatGPT or platforms such as that will be able to give you the support or give you an extra idea or a foundation maybe, you've got to be able to tweak that to your particular needs. I mean, I have some classes that, I need to stretch and challenge. I need some classes that I need to kind of support a lot more. And I don't think ChatGPT has that potential yet, and even still in the future, I think I have worked really hard to get where I am as a teacher, and I think I know my students well and what they need, and I think that's kind of part of what I'm in charge of, is the students' learning process and giving them the right diet, so to speak. So I wouldn't want to do that anyway, to change that all over, but I do recognize that it can help. But I don't think it's like with the students, it's that idea of regulation. And I think, if teachers were to overuse it, then that needs to also be called out,
For sure.
So
I agree. And finally, learning. That's what I use it the most, really. It's one thing I haven't mentioned. I use it in my everyday work.
Yeah.
But especially my line of work, IT, media department, YouTube, we're practically the first school here that gone video first. Nobody's doing that here apart from us. And there's a lot of stuff that I don't even know I have to know. So, and for me, AI is invaluable for that, because if I have to talk, learn about, streaming, whatever, anything, to get me going, it's a great starting point. If I have to learn, even now, if I want to buy a car, I have no idea about cars. So where do I get started? It's perfect. Instead of Googling new cars and then getting a bunch of adverts, it's a great way to start,
Yeah, definitely.
And I use that all the time for that.
Yeah, me too. If there's something that I'm struggling with in lessons, then I might just say quickly, can you teach me a short tutorial on how to do this? Mm-hmm. And then it can give me maybe 5 steps how to do it, and then it makes a lot more sense than going through a bunch of YouTube videos where it might not be as specific, or a bunch of Google articles, and spending a lot of time looking for something when I can have it right in front of me, like instantly.
What's that for math though?
Like for example, I was struggling with this concept in mechanics, and I just asked it to explain it to me, and it was able to do that.
Oh, so it's able to explain math but not do it itself.
Yeah. It depends how complicated it gets.
That's crazy. I think I want to learn more, because I don't want to, just because I am scared of what its potential could be, I don't want that to affect it or affect me in a negative way. I want to grow with the change, and I want to learn more. I know there are many, AI tools for education, and there are lots that are being developed, so it's an exciting but kind of scary time I think we're living in, within this change, within this educational shift, from a teacher's perspective, and I suppose for a student too, right? So, yeah.
Look, don't be scared, Mr. McKean. It's all good. It's all good.
This is the thing. I think if we learn more about it, we might be less scared.
Right.
Because we'll understand it.
Right.
It's the unknown that's scary, I think.
Of course, and that's why I've been kind of reticent to say, no, definitely not, because I think it's it's important when, just because you don't know about something and it scares you, you shouldn't say no. It's like when you're trying new food, right? You shouldn't be like, oh, I'm not going to eat that. Be like, have you tried it? No. Well, there you go. I think that applies in this situation too. It's important to have an open mind, and that's something that ChatGPT can't necessarily give you, is that open mind.
True.
So,
Yet.
No, no. Little by little, please.
But it is very neutral. It's like, well, like these HAL robots, right, from 2002. It's neutral. It just doesn't have an opinion. It just tells you whatever it is, which is also very good.
Yeah, but then what? For me, I think I'm just probably catastrophizing, thinking about when they become sentient beings and when, taken over and the world becomes dystopian, I guess. But, here we are.
We'll see that. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yes.
That's why you've got to use it now. Make friends with the robot so that when they take over, you've got them on your side.
You heard it here first, guys. Make friends with the robot first and we'll be fine. Yeah, that's great advice. Great advice.
On that note, I think we're pretty much done, no? Or is there anything else you guys want to say?
No, don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
That's more for myself, to be honest. That's more self-help.
Use with caution, but use.
Yes.
Carefully.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Try it out.
Learn.
Yeah.
Experiment with it. See what it can do.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So, as usual, we've come to the end. I'd like to thank our technical team here, as usual. Erica. Seen her. Jess in the back. She is real. She's not
She's not AI.
She's not AI.
Yet.
So anyway, thanks for joining us. I hope this has sparked the debate. Don't be scared. Use with caution, but use. And thank you very much. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Well, we have Easter break next week, so I'm not really sure when the next episode will be, but very, very soon.
Yes.
Enjoy your holidays and come and join us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.